to help out our wonderful Value Maker leads who've put together your programme today. So you probably see on the screen that you've got, if it's working properly, you should have got a little slide that gives you a code for Menti. We're going to be using Menti for our session today, just to give you an opportunity to put some input, answer some questions, hopefully some relatively fun ones. I'll kick us off with, as I always have, some silly questions at first, so just to see if it's working as much as anything. So really, hopefully not a hard one. Where are you dialing in from today? We've got a bit of answers are starting to come in. So you can see I should put an answer in myself. I'm upstairs at home, or we've got an other. I'm always intrigued about what the others are. I won't ask you unless if you want to share it in the chat, you're very welcome. So no sheds in the garden yet. Okay. I put that one in because I was once talking to someone in our region, and they were explaining that they'd set up an office in their shed, and it kind of I thought that was quite nice. Get yourself out of the way. I always thought it might be quite cold in the winter, but brilliant. Right, great. So we've got a load of answers there. Thanks ever so much for sticking your answers in. We've got a few people in the office. Hello to people if you're in the office. Oh, we've got another here. Fantastic. We've got some comments in there. Brilliant. Menti code on the chat. Yes, I will put that in a second. The Menti code is actually at the top of the screen here. It's 73132991. If someone could stick that in the chat, that would be fantastic. But yeah, so in terms of others, we've got a holiday chalet rental. How fantastic, Sally. That sounds quite exciting. And bit cold today. Yeah, summer house, Daryl. You know what? It is a lot colder today here in Cambridge. I don't know what it is around the rest of the patch, but certainly a lot colder. Do people still need the Menti code? Have people got it? So up at the top of the screen, 73132991. I'm going to click on to the next question. And the next question, another easy one. How long have you been a value maker? Just so we can see whether we've got lots of really kind of long in the tooth people like me who've been a value maker since it started, or we've got a bit of a mixture. And hopefully we've not got too many what is a value makers, but who knows? We are open to all answers here. So give us a quick indication, and I'll have a quick look at how many answers we've got to see if we've pretty much got. Yeah, it looks like we've got pretty much everyone who is on has managed to access the Menti. That is brilliant. Now, what you'll be pleased to know is that we're actually going to have a little break from Menti now. But just before we do so, just quickly to run through what we're doing in our session today. I'm absolutely delighted that we've got the wonderful Sophie from One NHS Finance here, who is going to take us through our first couple of sessions, which are on the results of the recent staff survey and an update on all things to do with accreditation. We've then got Linda and Martha, who are joining us to talk a little bit about HFMA support for bands 2 to 6 and students, particularly our Rockstars and Superstars conference, but there'll be a couple of other bits in there. We'll have a screen break, and after that I'm going to do a bit of a session around training development and support that's available for you and your team. And finally we will close with Jason Donovan from the regional team, who's going to give us a quick regional update. So I hope that sounds okay. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Sophie, who's going to take us through the first couple of sessions.
Thanks, Jane. Hi everyone. Delighted to be here with you all today. Today we're going to talk about the 2024 staff survey scores for finance directorates. So I've got a few slides, hopefully you can see that. Yep. Yeah, great. So each year at Future Focus Finance, we look at the People Promise scores for finance directorates, and we collate them all, the ones that are available publicly, and put them into this Wizzy spreadsheet, so you can all benchmark yourselves. But also we want to get an understanding of how NHS finance staff are feeling, and we think this is a pretty good indication. Just to say that it is slightly wider than finance sometimes, where procurement might be included if that sits under the CFO. So that it is, but on the spreadsheet you can see what for each organisation, whether it includes slightly more than finance or not. So for 2024, we had 212 organisations in the sample, which is up from 193 in 2023, which is great to see. Also, we're starting to have a few, now we've published it on the website, we are starting to have a few more organisations realise that they're not in it and send through their scores. So we might get a few more, but I don't think it will change the results like too drastically. So as you can see, for 2024, there's not drastic changes in any of the themes. Slightly up in some, slightly down in others, and exactly the same in 2 of the themes. So yet again, it is We Are Always Learning is the lowest theme, and We Are Compassionate and Inclusive is the highest theme, which is same as previous years, but that's quite interesting to see there. I'll send through the slides afterwards so you can look at these in more details. We'll run through them now. We did say that we think, though, if the survey was completed in the last couple of months, that the scores might be quite different, but we'll be interested to see what the 2025 results show next year. So again, there's quite a range between the highest and lowest scores. And if you look at We Are Always Learning, the lowest score there was 3.27. So big range between highest and lowest, but again, not too dissimilar from previous years. So regions. So looking at regionally, it is the Northwest that score the highest and most, which is again the same as it was last year. But the East of England were top scoring for morale. So that was interesting to see. And London, like last year, London does score the lowest in most of the themes. We also looked at organisation type, and same as previous years, ambulance trusts and ICBs score the lowest, which might not be a surprise. The other results are slightly distorted in that there's not very many in the other category, and I think it's 2 or 3, and they did score quite highly. So it is CSU score quite well, and specialist. So we also looked at finance versus organisation average. And as you can see, in every theme, finance scores better than organisational average. Previous years, this has been the case, apart from the first year when we looked at the staff survey scores. We Are Always Learning was higher in organisational average, but we've now overtaken that. But good to see that we score better than the rest of the organisation. So this is quite a powerful slide. I think it shows that organisations who are level 3 accredited score better in every single theme. And apart from We Work Flexibly, which is a slight anomaly, but you can see that non-accredited organisations do score the worst in every category, and it does go up per accreditation level. So top scoring organisations for this year, Liverpool Heart and Chest are at the top again. That's the 3rd year in a row that they've been at the top. And they scored the highest in every single theme this year as well, which they hadn't done in previous years. So we'll be speaking to them again to kind of get some learning what they've been doing there. Great to see Cambridge Community Services in the top 10 again. They were in previous years as well. But that's the organisation from the East of England that's in the top 10. Just leave that there for a minute, a quick glance. And we looked at the most improved organisations. And great to see that half of them are ICBs. And East Coast Community Healthcare is in there from the East of England. But we've written out to all the top scoring and all of the most improved organisations, and we'll to kind of get some learning, see what they've been doing, and see if any will be willing to do a bit of a showcase, online showcase, to share what they've been doing with everyone. So kind of our next steps, we have published now the benchmarking tool on the website. If your organisation is not in there and you do have the People Promise scores out of 10 and you want to send them through to us, we can add you in. I say we. I might have to ask one of our Excel wizards to help. But yeah, we can do that pretty easily. We're doing some learning from top scoring organisations. I've actually got a chat with a CFO from one of the London trusts this afternoon, and from the most improved. But also yet again, We Are Always Learning is the lowest scoring theme, and really trying to understand why, because we think there's quite a lot of development options and things out there for staff. But when we've looked at it a bit closer, it seems to be appraisals that is bringing that score down, and that's the same as previous years. So we're trying to gather a bit of information about why people not having meaningful appraisals and what they think about their appraisals. So we've put together a bit of a survey which will be releasing hopefully tomorrow, and me and Jane are going to talk about it a bit later to make sure we got all the right questions in there. But we just want some really constructive feedback from you as value makers. If you could push this out in your organisations once we've published it, we'll send it around. But we just want to get some constructive feedback about appraisals. Where are we missing the mark on this, so we can hopefully pull together a bit of a plan and share some learning across the community and hopefully improve people's appraisals, because they are really obviously very important. So a reminder of some of the resources that we do have. We have the benchmarking tool I've mentioned. We did create a guide for meaningful appraisals a couple of years ago now, and it has been the most accessed document on our website in the last month. And last year it was in the top 10 for the whole year of things that are accessed. So which is good to see that people are accessing that. We've got showcases from 2023 that you can watch back, but we will be doing some more for 2024. Which are all available on the staff survey page on the website. And then we've got resources under some of the themes. And each year we refresh those and add a few other bits in. But there are some really good things, such as a few quizzes and things to do with your teams, a bit about the health and wellbeing network, got a guide on flexible working, and we've got quite a lot of this has come from the Great Place to Work toolkit that was created a while ago. So we've kind of updated that a little bit. So there's loads of resources on there by People Promise that people can have a look at and access if they think it would be helpful. So that's kind of a whistle-stop tour of the staff survey results as they are. It'd be really great to hear any reflections, got any questions. The staff survey working group are meeting again. They met last week, but they're meeting again in July. So any further information that you'd like on the staff survey, let us know and we can look at that and take that to that meeting.
Brilliant, thanks Sophie. So do stick your hand up or stick a question in the chat if you've got some. I'm going to kick off, if you don't mind, Sophie, and then we'll bring Daryl in. Just to ask, can you just explain a little bit more, just say a little bit more about that benchmarking tool? So can anybody use it, and if they go in there, will they be able to see their results for their own organisation?
Yes. So if your organisation has finance as a separate directorate on the publicly available results, your organisation will be in there. So there's 212 organisations in there. So if you're not in there, then you can send them through to us and we can add you in. But if on the first page of the tool, there is you can compare yourself to kind of the average scores for each of the themes. You can compare yourself to last year as well. So if you were in the sample last year, you can see each theme, whether you've gone up or down. And then also you can click on each region and see how you compare in your region. But yeah, this is all from the publicly available information. So if it wasn't available publicly and you haven't sent it through to us already, you won't be in there. But 212 is a pretty good sample, we think, and it keeps going up each year, the number of people are in it. So it's good to see.
Brilliant. So it'd be a good idea for people to have a look, and as value makers, if you can kind of get your results and maybe make sure that your your senior leadership is aware of them, because they won't necessarily have seen them broken down for finance. So if you want to either congratulate yourselves on great results, or you want to generate some impetus for change, I think there's it's an absolutely brilliant resource to be able to compare yourself. Thanks, Sophie. Daryl, you got a question?
Well, I guess not really a question. So I was just having a look at our staff survey information whilst Sophie was sort of highlighting the appraisal thing. So I just thought I'd have a quick look and see what our team looked like. And interestingly, if you look at the learning side of things, depending on which team, and obviously it's only teams with greater than 10 respondents that you can see, it was between 3.8 and 7.6, which on one level is a massive range when we offer practically the same amount of opportunity to everybody. So that is out there as a department, and I promote it as an individual. Now, what does that mean that certain teams don't look at what the opportunities are, or they're not allowed to look at the opportunities now? So it says to me that, there's a disparity there that I want to know a bit more about. Looking at the appraisal side of things, I think, and I don't know, Sophie, if you've managed to sort of drill down into this, but the things where we seem to score more lowly is about it's helped me to improve how I do my job, and it's left me feeling valued. Those were the ones that seem to score lower for us. We're pretty good at people having reviews, so I think it's about getting that consistency in terms of the quality of the conversation, and then actually, if you're trying to set somebody up to improve, then following it through. Anyway, sorry, Sophie, that was more than just a mini rant rather than anything you can do about.
No, it's good to hear. We haven't drilled down. We've only got the high level data. But where organisations scores weren't available publicly, but they've sent them in to us, that's when we tend to get a bit more of a view of their individuals' scores for each department. And it does seem to be appraisals rather than development. But interesting to see the range that you've got, Daryl. But just to point out, so I probably should have mentioned this earlier, 7 is considered excellent score out of the 10. So, and like anything above that is seen as world class, just to kind of give you a bit of a benchmark of what each kind of score means.
I think in people going back and finding out what they can see, I mean, we've done quite a lot of work on it, and we've made the scores freely available to anybody in the organisation. Obviously, it doesn't identify anybody individually, but if your team has got greater than 10, you can get a lot of granularity about how your team was feeling at the time they did that survey.
Yeah,
I'll shut up now.
No, thanks, totally. And it is good to remember that this was done in the autumn. But thank you, and great to see you using this and trying to make a difference with it. Rebecca, have you got a question or comment?
Yeah, just in terms of a comment, it's really helpful to see the information, and I think the staff survey is not something because I'm relatively new to the NHS, so it's not something I'm really, really familiar with in terms of the output. I think also because CUH, we've got such big finance teams, and then we have much smaller divisional finance teams, so it's really hard as a manager to kind of take that broader data for kind of 10 times the amount of people at least and apply that to your team in a real way. You want to kind of tailor the information to your team. But I was just thinking in more broader context, looking back at the results from August, it's going to be really crucial, when we have the next results, and actually making sure that whilst there's so much uncertainty, that we're trying to maintain the stability and the support for our team members and how that will flow through in our results. But also, I think the more local impact we can have in supporting our teams, I think, like Daryl said, in terms of training and development opportunities, he's publicised that. So there's an element of it being up to people. And we know with uncertainty, certain people are going to worry more than others because of personal circumstances and natural tendencies. But there's a lot we can be mindful of in terms of taking the results and thinking, oh, maybe I need to be a bit more supportive, or maybe people are struggling, or maybe in that appraisal we need to talk about things we don't want to talk about and what's coming up and things like that, which I just thought is quite an interesting period to be looking at it, isn't it?
Certainly is. And I'm sure that there will still be a degree of uncertainty and unsettledness when the next survey comes round. So it will be very interesting to see how that impacts on the results. Thanks, Rebecca. Sophie, thank you so much. I'm going to suggest we move on, but if it's not too distracting for people, Sophie did mention that we are in particular really interested in the why appraisal score so lowly, and I've got my theories around it. Around sometimes the HR paperwork is not the most helpful thing, and sometimes they're a bit rushed, and finance, we're all trying to squeeze them into our very difficult diaries, etc. When the survey comes out, be really, really grateful if you could fill that in, because this is consistently scores low for everybody, but particularly relatively for finance. So it'd be great to know what it is that's causing people to feel dissatisfied with appraisals, so we can try to do something about it. So just your 5 minutes to fill in a quick survey would be very much appreciated once that comes out, hopefully later this week, early next week. So Sophie, sorry, I will let you move on to our next session, please.
Right, so next we're on to accreditation. Hopefully you all know what accreditation is, because everyone in the east of England is now at least level 1, which is fantastic. First region to do that as well, so that's brilliant. And as of yesterday, the North East and Yorkshire have now joined you as being the second region to have all organisations at least level 1. So just a reminder on there of what it is, how it's a dedicated framework. So it's, we want to recognise organisations that have the very best skills development, culture and practices in place. It started in the Northwest. So when you look at the numbers, the Northwest, they've got more level 3s than anyone else. It has been going there for 30 years. So it's probably not surprising that they are more organisations at higher levels there. And also, if you look at the staff survey scores in the Northwest, does score the best in most of them, and the accreditation has really been embedded there for years and years and years. But now, as of yesterday, 90% of trusts and ICBs are at least level 1. So that's, and I think about 2.5 years ago, that was at about 63%. So in the last two and a bit years, that has really shot up, and people are engaging with it, which is great to see, because as that graph I showed you earlier, the higher you got the accreditation, the better your scores are. So hopefully, if you are level 1, hopefully we can encourage you all to go for level 2 and 3, etc. So to look at the nationally, this includes all the ones that were approved yesterday. As you can see, the Northwest does have the most level 3s, but 2 regions now are fully accredited, and there aren't, only, I think it's 24 trusts and about 4 ICBs now that are 22 trusts and 4 ICBs, I think, that are not accredited. So we really are making moves in the right direction on the accreditation programme. That's just interesting to see other regions. In the east of England, as I mentioned, there's still quite a few level 1s. So really trying to encourage organisations to make that step to level 2. It is a big step up, because level 1 is a self-assessment. We only ask for evidence for a few of the criteria, but level 2 you do need to provide evidence for every criteria, and then we have some staff discussions. But I think it's a really worthwhile process, and it's really good to learn from other organisations. And I recently did one in the North East and Yorkshire, and I've met loads of new people that I didn't know before. So it's been, I think it's a really rewarding process. But yes, interesting to see there. The accreditation. Oh, wrong way. Just wanted to say congratulations to Cambridge University Hospitals, who got their level 2 yesterday. So I don't know if you knew that yet or not. I wrote out to the CFO this morning. But congratulations, that's the latest one in the east of England to be awarded accreditation, and fantastic that it's at level 2. Oh yeah, there you go. So, oh, Sally, got your hand up? Got a question? No.
Sorry, mistake. Went for the react, hit raised.
So for those of you that are level 1 and are looking to go for level 2, just a kind of a quick reminder of the process. If you could let us know about 6 months before you're planning to go for accreditation, that's really helpful, so we can start to think about assessors and also support you in the process if you've got any questions, etc. Once you've filled in your pro forma and start to gather your evidence, you send the pro forma through to us, and we'll look through it first as well to make sure if there are any gaps, to let you know before we assign assessors. Then we'll assign assessors as quickly as we can. At the moment, we understand that there's a lot of pressures on, so we do rely on volunteers for assessors. And then the assessor will we'll go through the evidence, meet with the finance team, and hopefully after going through all the evidence, there are no gaps, and had really good discussions with the CFO, some budget holders, 25% of the finance team. They'll come up with a report and hopefully recommend you for accreditation. And then that goes to the Finance Leadership Council for approval. The Finance Leadership Council meets 3 times a year. They meet in January, May and September, hence why the deadlines are the month before. Then you get your certificate. So Cambridge will get yours shortly in the post. And then also there is a email signature if you want to use it as well. But it is a 3-year process. So every 3 years it does need to be renewed because lots can change in 3 years. But we do allow a 6-month grace period. If any of yours are coming up for renewal, we do give a 6-month grace period. So we spoke to a CFO recently and asked them what they thought about the accreditation and asked for some reflections. They said it was a really good opportunity to look at the services they offer and look at themselves and help to bring together the team, because it's not a one-person job. It is a team effort. And they said that it's helped them reflect on their training provision and align it to organisational needs and help set the direction because you've got to come up with you've got to have a strategy, a skills development strategy for the department, help them set out their direction, and also helps attract the best talent. We've seen that more and more now. We've seen staff saying that they don't want to work in organisations that don't have accreditation, because it's not showing that the department takes their development seriously. So we're starting to see more and more people say that when it comes to accreditation now, and there are only 10% that left. So hopefully that will encourage the 10% that aren't accredited to actually have a look at it. So we've created some new resources recently. One on reasons to get accredited. So if your department aren't convinced, so have a little look at that. There's some really good quotes from organisations and some reasons why accreditation is really beneficial to the department. And we've also spoken to some assessors as well. To see Jodie, who's on the call. We've got a nice quote from Jodie there. And I think we've got one from Sarah. I think Sarah's on the call too, in that document, and Daryl. Got lots of lovely accreditation assessors on the call. But yeah, we've got reasons to become assessors and why it's a really good thing to do, and an assessor guide. The next training for assessors is next week on the 20th. So if you're not booked onto that and you fancy hearing a bit more about it, then you could also, we're recording it so you can watch it back. There you go, assessor training. We've got one the next 2, 20th of May and 16th of September. Also, we've got a level 3 showcase coming up. So Bolton and Stockport in the Northwest have been level 3 for a while now. And they actually came to us and said, would you like us to do a bit of a showcase on how we maintain our level 3? So Annette Walker, who's a CFO at Bolton, will be speaking at that one. And I think the Director of Finance from Stockport as well. So that is on the 17th of June. So if you're aiming for level 3 in the future, or currently level 3 or any level really, just want to hear about bit of a showcase on what they've been doing, and both Bolton particularly does score really well on the staff survey as well, so it might be interesting to hear some reflections from there. Here's just a quote from the Towards Excellence steering group, just about why it's important, but I won't read it out to you. I can send the slides around. But that was it I had to say, really. Does anyone have any questions, reflections on the accreditation programme? Just a big thank you to the assessors. Tom's on the call as one assessor. Big thank you to everyone that is an assessor. The programme would not function without assessors, and hopefully you all do find it beneficial as well.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sophie. Really clear and informative as always. Right, so we've got some hands up. So Tom, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for going through that, Sophie. Really interesting. Just a question for us. We got a level 3 accreditation last year, which is great. So we do have a couple of years before it comes to an end. But I just wonder what the process was for those organisations that have got to level 3 when it comes to renewing it after 3 years. Is it sort of going through the level 3 process again?
Yes, it is, because things can change dramatically in 3 years. The department can get lots of turnover of staff you could have, or anything like that. It's just it is, and the NHS, it changes all the time. So yeah, you do have to go through the process as if it was you were going for it for the first time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and
thanks.
standards do change sometimes as well. Although you'll all be delighted to hear that the recent accreditation steering group meeting, there's no changes to the standards this year.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that always catches us out.
Yeah.
I was going to offer to say something, given that we are at the point where we need to be relooking at our level 3, and I think for me it is about the fact that I know the standards have changed, since we did our level 3. So it is about just having a look from level 1 upwards to make sure that you've got that evidence, or that evidence is still current, you know, if your DOF's moved on or whatever. But again, for me, if it's possible, I think it is possible for us, it's about showing that you're still grown, you're growing still. Yeah, you're not sitting on your laurels, you're still looking at ways of trying to engage your staff. You know, perhaps your staff survey results might back some of that up. But if you're able, and it's a struggle for us as an organisation to sort of capture all that CPD information, yeah, demonstrating that you're getting more people getting involved, not just CPD, but obviously there's health and wellbeing and things like that. But yeah, trying to show that you've progressed in some way, shape or form, I think for me is good for the organisation that we're going for level 3.
And as we like to say, Daryl, stealing from Virginia Mason, better never stops.
Yeah.
Love it. Better never stops. Thank you. So we've just got about 1 more minute for any questions. If you do have any, please stick your hand up or stick them in the chat. But before we move on to the next session, I was just going to ask some of our wonderful assessors, and we have got quite a lot on the call, if anyone's just willing to just stick your hand up or just shout out why should people get involved. I do it, and I find it a brilliant way of finding out what's going on in other organisations. I'm really nosy, I like to have a look. But any other assessors, give us the 10 seconds on why is it a good idea to get involved. Sarah, go for it.
10 seconds is a bit of a challenge, Jane. 1, networking. It's fantastic to meet people from not just across the region, but from across the country. And secondly, if I'm going to get this in 10 seconds, it's seeing what other organisations do and thinking, yeah, we could do that. That's a really good idea, because, you know, you learn from other people.
Brilliant. I think you nearly stuck to 10 seconds there, Sarah, which is much more than I've done. Jodie's come on screen. Are you going to say something, Jodie?
I can't add to what Sarah said. That was I was just saying hi. Yeah, it is a really great process, and when I do them, I have shadowers as well, and they really enjoy it. Like every time they're just like, this has been so good, thank you. So get on shadowing if you're not sure about the full assessment. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant point. So as Sophie said, and I think it's in the chat, there's training. So, you know, you don't just get thrown in at the deep end. There's training so you can find out all about what it involves. And you can also take part, as Jodie says, as a shadow assessor with experienced assessors. So it means that you can get involved. You can get involved in the staff meetings and doing some of the assessment, but without it being too much pressure. So great, as you'd expect from one NHS Finance, great kind of training available to ease you into it. Emily, did you have a question?
Well, I do, Jane. I'm not an assessor, but my question was, what sort of time commitment is involved in being an assessor? Just because obviously that's our biggest challenge at the moment, but it sounds really interesting.
Brilliant. Sophie, did you want to answer this one?
Yeah,
Do you want me to stick it?
Go on, Daryl. You go.
I guess it sort of depends. If you're the lead assessor, you might be putting a little bit more effort in because you've got that coordinating role. So usually what happens is, ideal world, you have 3 assessors, you break it down into 3 elements because there's 6 elements to the structure. So you focus on the evidence, then you try and attend as many meetings as possible. It really depends on the size of the organisation, whether you have 1 meeting with the DOF, 1 meeting with the team, or multiple meetings, and also you have budget holders coming in as well. I think that if you've had a bit of experience, might take a bit longer the first time you do it, you could probably get through the evidence review in a day, for two sections. Then you've got the meetings, which are probably half a day, and then there's the report write-up, potentially half a day. Again, once you've got into the rhythm of how you construct the report. The reports are not huge, because you've got loads of evidence that sits behind it, and you're just providing enough information so the leadership group can see quite clearly that organisation has delivered to the standard.
Thank
Does
you.
that sound okay, Sophie?
Yeah, for the one I did recently, we had there was 3 of us on it, so we did split the criteria. We did 2 each, which makes it a lot quicker. And then we came together to think of some questions that we thought we wanted to draw out with the staff. Just a few things that we just wanted to sense check, things like everyone had an appraisal, like they'd said, and all those sorts of things. And there was a bit around mentoring and coaching that was offered, but wasn't clear how many people took those opportunities up. So it was those sorts of things that we asked. We came together to come up with the questions, and then there's a small finance team, so we did it online. We had a 1-hour meeting with the team, and then half an hour with the CFO, and then we had half an hour with the budget holders, and we asked the budget holders why they think we should accredit them at level 2, and they said we think you should accredit them at level 3. So they were really it was really complimentary, and actually it made us all feel really kind of came off the call feeling really energized, and it was really great to see how the finance team works so well with across the organisation and how well they were viewed. It was really nice to hear. I'm not sure whether I should say this or not for this next part, but in terms of the report writing, if you've got your really good set of notes, you can put it into ChatGPT and it can form it into a report for you.
Oh,
there you go.
Excellent.
So, yeah, it's your notes that you put in. As long as you don't put any personal information in, it's your notes, and it does help you form. And you can ask for each category, and it does help it form for you, which makes it a lot easier. Using AI to help you.
Okay, I will be looking at that next time. But just to say, so fantastic, great question, Emily. Thank you. So, so as Daryl said, round about 2 days, but that's not 2 solid days. It's stuff that you can do. You could fit around, and the lead assessors are generally finance people and are really conscious about the fact that people have month ends, etc., to do. So we're usually pretty flexible around the timing. And I would say you could get more than 2 days worth of value out of doing that because of what you can learn, the networks that you get, and the things you can steal with pride if you want to as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sophie, again for a brilliant presentation. I'm going to move us on to our next item because I know everyone does need a screen break. So I'm going to welcome Linda and Martha, who are going to very quickly talk a little bit about things that are available from HFMA. But I've hopefully the Menti has come back on the screen, and hopefully you can see something about Rockstars and Superstars. Someone give me a thumbs up or a shake. That would be great. Thank you. And over to Linda and Martha.
Good morning, I'm Linda Goody. I'm the Band 2 to 6 advocate for HFMA Eastern Branch, and I'm proud to be part of the team that created the Rockstars Superstars conference. You'll see there's a few pictures here, a few memories of our wonderful conference. You can see some of our Rockstars Superstars there. The conference is open to students at all bands and all Band 2 to 6 staff. Rockstars are on a steady path of development, and Superstars are on a more accelerated path, but both types of employee are vital to any finance team. The next conference we are organising at the moment is going to take place in September the 22nd, 23rd. Back at Cambridge Novotel. Now I'll hand over to Martha.
Thanks, Linda. My name is Martha Beezer. I'm a finance business partner at Royal Papworth Hospital. And like Linda, I have the awesome privilege of helping to plan the Rockstars and Superstars conference. I'm going to speak a little bit about what we had last year in the conference at the Rockstars and Superstars. As you can see on some of the highlights here, it's not just a day out of the office. It's a place where we celebrate successes, a place that we learn and we grow. From the slide, you can see that we have a different mix of topics. For example, we had Claire Wilson join us. She was the HFMA president at the time, and she was talking about working together as one in the NHS. We all have different roles, but we all come together to deliver one service to the patients. And it's sort of like working in a band where everyone has their own instrument, but we come together and make a beautiful song. We also had Linda Goody, who was the Student of the Year last year, and she spoke about her journey and making the most of the opportunities that she had in her journey. And she spoke about networking, learning, and development through her journey. We had James Ransom. He was an unsung hero. And he spoke about clinical coding. He spoke about clinical coding in a way that made it so interesting. I work with the clinical coding team, and some of the things that I didn't understand, he made clear for me. He also spoke about coaching and training, how he helps recruit people within the clinical coding team. We had Dr. William Bird for health and well-being, and he was talking about resilience. What makes us resilient? We become more resilient when we feel safe, when we feel like we belong to something, and when we feel valued. And he spoke about the importance of how we can draw support from the people near us, the people that love us, our friends, our relatives, and our co-workers. And Jane came to spoke about all the development opportunities that are available within the region. So this could be through One NHS Finance, through SDN, through HFMA, and the Leadership Academy. We also had Ben Bowman from First Intuition talking about communication. How do we communicate effectively? Our content should be complete, accurate, and clear. I'm going to hand back to Linda Goody.
We invite all of our delegates to provide feedback when they attend the Rockstar Superstar Conference, and that's not a tick box exercise for us. We use that feedback in order to create the next conference. So before we start planning an agenda, we look back at what people said, what did people like, and what constructive criticism did people provide. And here's a few highlights here. As you can see, people that joined us enjoyed it. They found the time valuable, but there was some really good input given of how we can improve that conference. So we've took that on board, and we are looking at ways we can incorporate some group tasks, encourage more people to come along from different organisations to get a broader mix, and also to go back to basics and explain the difference between provider and ICB and NHS England hierarchy, so that people understand how that money flows. Over to Martha.
So Martha, can I just come in at this point and say that we've got a little question here that will come up on people's Menti. To save time, I'm going to suggest that I put this in when we get to our break. But what we're after from you is any ideas for the next Rockstars and Superstars. So answer it now if you can, but it will disappear from your Menti as we do the next couple of slides. I'll put it back up during the screen break. So please do give us any ideas that you've got. So sorry, Linda, I think it's back to you.
Back to me. I created the Band 2 to 6 network in October to give finance staff across the region the opportunity to feed back to the committee about their needs and wants. We're now up to 20 members, which is absolutely fantastic. The most recent meeting did take place in April. The next meeting is going to be on the 13th of June. If anybody is interested in joining the network, please do get in touch with me and I'll add you to the mailing list. The meeting's very informal. There's no requirement for you to come at all. You can drop in and out as you wish, but it's a really friendly group, and some fantastic ideas have come out of that. And I feed back to the committee on those ideas, and we do try and move forward and provide training and development opportunities off the back of those ideas. So anyone interested or wants to hear more, do contact me, and I'll be happy to talk to you separately.
Thanks, Jane. So as well as helping to organize the STARS conference, I co-run the East of England Student Support Group. So this group is open to anyone who is studying CCAB qualifications or AAT. At the moment, we have quite a large group. We have close to 95 members from all across the region. And the group is just there for people to come and share their experiences, ask questions, celebrate success, learn about the different study options that we have available. We do this through monthly meetings. We have monthly meetings and Teams channel where people can just drop their questions. They don't have to wait for the monthly meetings to come up. We have a mix of formal and informal sessions. So the informal sessions are where people can just come in, ask questions and talk to each other. And then the more formal sessions where we bring in someone from external to talk about a certain topic. And these sort of formal sessions happen once every quarter. So if you know anyone or if you're interested in joining the student support group, please reach out to me and I'll add you to our network.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies, for that wonderful update. We will put some of the links for those in the chat, and yeah, really appreciate you taking the time to tell us about those. If you've got any questions for Linda or Martha, do stick them in the chat. I'm now going to move us into a quick screen break. It's 18 minutes past. If we can come back at 11:25, and I will make sure that you are finished and ready for 12 o'clock. So please do take the opportunity for a screen break. I'm going to switch the slides back so that if you have got any ideas about topics for Rockstar Superstars, it would be brilliant to hear them. So do stick them in your Menti, and I'll see you at 11:25. So welcome back. Let's give people a few seconds to join back on. It looks remarkably quiet out there. No, I'm either having IT problems or everyone's taken the opportunity, as I hope, to have had a leg stretch and go and get a cup of tea. Yeah, brilliant. I can see Jenny, thank you for putting your camera on. It just shows me it's not that my screen is completely frozen, which is what it looks like. Fantastic. Thank you for someone who has put a great idea in there about the rock stars and superstars. I'm going to move the Menti on. If you do have any ideas about it, please email me, email Linda or Martha, or stick any ideas in the chat. We're at the planning stage for Rockstar Superstars for this year, so it'd be brilliant to make sure it includes the things that you want to hear. And thank you for those. We will capture the items that people have put in there so far. I'm going to zoom the Menti on so that we are back where we are. And just for anyone who joined from the beginning, we are going to be using Menti for this next session. So please do join the via mentimeter.com and stick in the code, which people have helpfully put in the chat. A couple of bits of interaction in the next session. So Sophie alluded to it, and I think no one working in NHS finance at the moment can be unaware of the fact that there have been a lot of announcements recently around changes to the NHS in general, specifically around NHS England and around ICBs, but also to trusts. And so I thought we'd just take a little bit of time to do a bit of a temperature check on how people are feeling and what people feel that the impact of those is likely to be. I had to go at putting some sections in. They're probably not ideal, but please let's have a feel. It's anonymous, so put in what you want, and I think you can answer multiple times, so please do if you think that more than one of these applied to you. And just really trying to see how people are feeling about this. We know that people react in different ways. It's going to have different impacts on different organisations, but just a quick temperature check. And thank you for those who have put in so far. Looks like most people are thinking that there will be changes for either themselves or the team and more work, which, unfortunately, any kind of reorganisation that takes out funding is likely to have an impact on workload, etc. Whilst we know that there are lots of changes coming around use of AI and improving processes, there are almost inevitably changes around workload. So thank you for answering that one. I'll just give you a few more seconds if anyone's not had a chance to stick in their answers. This is really helpful for us and the ONF team in terms of knowing how people are feeling. And so a bit more of a general one. This is just an opportunity for you to stick a word in terms of how you're feeling at the moment. And this is not necessarily about the changes. This can be about all the brilliant work that you've done around year-end things. Are you worn out? Are you energized? Are you feeling excited? So hopefully you can stick in, if I've managed to do the Menti properly, which is always a question mark, but stick in a word or two to tell us how you are feeling. Yeah, tired. Yeah, not surprising with all the things that everyone has been doing over the this really busy period, protracted planning, year end, probably dealing with auditors, etc. at the moment, and some of the uncertainties. So quite a few things in there. Bit of a mixture, actually. Concerned, uncertain, excited, glad to hear, and hopeful. Brilliant stuff. So a bit of a mixture. Do keep sticking your words in there for a few more seconds. What I'm going to do today is I know that this is a really unsettling time and people have been working incredibly hard. And you can kind of think about training development and what does all this change mean for you in one of two ways. Now, you can kind of say, oh my goodness, I'm so busy and there's lots of uncertainty, so I'm going to kind of just stick to my job and not what is the point of doing any training development? Well, I would argue, and I wouldn't I? But actually, it's more important than ever to take advantage of the training development and the support that is available for you, to firstly to just give you a bit of a breather, give you a bit of a chance to meet other people, reflect, expand your horizons, but also to put yourself in the best position that you can be in terms of thinking about your future options, both either in terms of you know, expanding or your changed role, or if you're looking for opportunities elsewhere. So I really urge you, and by the fact that you're here today, I know that you are, as our value makers, are probably already thinking this, but I would urge you as managers and as team members to really promote the great stuff that is available through One NHS Finance and through the work that we do in the region to help you through what is a really tricky time. And I will share the slides afterwards, and hopefully the final word cloud you can have as part of that pack. So thank you for being open with that. That's really helpful and unsurprising results there. So what I'm going to do for the next kind of 15 minutes or so is to take you through a quick training development update, which is going to cover a number of areas. Just going to tell you quickly about some of the options that are available, some of the events that are coming up, a little bit of a reminder about networks, as well as what's available in terms of one-to-one support, reminder about the Innovation Forum, and particularly to focus on staff support resources that are available. Now, we've got a quarter of an hour, so I am going to really quickly run through, but just to say that the slides are available after the event. So if you see anything in there, please do have a look at the slides, click on the links, or if you just want to find out a little bit more, as always, give me a shout and I will hopefully point you in the right direction. So without any further ado, I had a little look through what's coming up from our friends at One NHS Finance, from our local HFMA branch, and from the Skills Development Network. I'll talk more about Skills Development Network stuff in a moment, but there's lots of things coming up in terms of short, mainly online events that you might want to dip into. Our HFMA branch continues to do a monthly lunch and learn, and the input that you gave that you'll be giving to Linda and the Band 2 to 6 network, as well as the student network, helps to determine the events. Well, the next one we've got coming up is a showcase session about the work that ESNEFT has been doing on its journey to implement the EPIC EPR. That's coming up on the 21st of May, and I think that will be a really great session. It's a lunch and learn, log on, it's an hour long, great opportunity to find out what's going on across our patch. In terms of One NHS Finance, loads and loads of events. I know that our ONF colleagues can tell you more if you want to find out more about them. I just picked out a few that are coming up in the next few weeks. Now we've got lots of showcase events, one on apprenticeships coming up next week, assessor training, which Sophie's already mentioned, as well as part of a health and wellbeing webinar sessions. There's a number of these, and there's one coming up early in June about the impact of blood sugar, something very close to my heart, having done a particular cut down on sugar over the last few months. I'm really interested to hear the science behind that. But there are lots and lots of different events around importance of sleep and dealing with stress, and I'd really recommend you have a look at those just out of general interest as much as anything, all free or online. The final one I wanted to mention, because I have to do a shameless plug for something that I'm doing as part of the Finance Academy. We are trying to do round about quarterly an induction session for new members of staff, just to take people through the slightly complex landscape that we live in terms of how does HFMA, Skills Development Network, One NHS Finance, etc. fit together. And I just try to introduce people to all the kind of free resources that are available to them, and hopefully welcome them to our finance community in the east of England. So if you have got anyone new in your team, do encourage them to come along to that. It's just an hour long, again, very low stress, and hopefully they'll find it useful as a way of learning what's going on in our patch. Just quickly to mention that that there's a couple of the One NHS Finance National Development Programmes that are open for booking at the moment. As you'll have heard me say numerous times, these are usually run on an annual cycle. Some of them now move into a once every 2 years cycle, but the two that are open for booking at the moment, so don't miss out. And particularly if you need to share this with members of your team, Career Shapers, which is for Band 2 to 4s, is open for applications by the 30th of May, alongside the Accelerate the Deputy Development Programme. So do have a look. As I say, please do promote it amongst your team. I was involved with Career Shapers, myself and Daryl, talking to Career Shapers on that photo from last year. It was a really brilliant thing to be part of. So do encourage anyone who's in that group to have a look at putting in an application for that programme. A quick shout out about the Skills Development Network. You've probably noticed there's a whole new website for Skills Development Network. It's got a lot of a more up-to-date look and feel, but it's the same great range of events. Lizzie has started to populate events for the new financial year in there. So there are a range of events on there, lots of the classics around Excel, Power BI. We've got events on inclusive recruitment, as well as a whole range of other events that you would expect. What's happening at the moment is that all organisations have just filled out their training needs analysis for next year, and we'll be using that via the Finance Academy board to develop our full programme, which will go on over the next couple of months. But do have a look, lots of events on there already, and yeah, available for you to book easily via Skills Development Network. So really quickly, a reminder of the loads and loads of networks that you can get involved in. And again, I feel a bit like I'm preaching to the converted, if you like, here, because all of you are part of our wonderful Value Maker network. But did you know there's actually loads and loads of different networks? I did a quick summary here from the ONF website this morning, and 12 different networks, which I didn't know there were quite as many as that. And I don't think we've necessarily captured everything that's going on, but there are networks for everything that you are interested in, and if there isn't, then let us know and we'll see whether or not we can develop something. As well as Value Makers, we've got our wonderful inclusion, diversity ambassadors and health and wellbeing champions, and a whole range of diversity networks through disabilities, cultural diversity matters, etc. Particularly wanted to remind people about the Virtual Finance Network, which in my very untechnical way is a Teams group that works across the whole of NHS Finance, and it's a brilliant way of asking questions, sharing resources and finding out what's going on. If you're not registered for that, it's very easy to sign up, and you can run it alongside your normal teams. Well, I managed to do it, so it can't be too hard. And it means that you can kind of see what's going on and share resources across other departments with like-minded value makers and other staff whenever you want to. So please do have a look at what's going on from the various networks and sign up if you're not involved already. In terms of one-to-one developments, just a quick reminder that in the East of England we do offer coaching services. These normally, because these are qualified coaches who provide the service, you would normally have to pay for these, but within the East of England we've put some money into providing free coaching. And there's kind of two ways you can access that. One of them is if you are wanting, say, some support with kind of thinking through your management style or a difficult issue, you can sign up for a package of sessions with a coach as part of this, or there's relatively new developments. If you just want a one-off session, but say an example being for preparation for an interview, or you want someone to look through your CV, or to talk through with you about your answers and the way you might deal with a particular meeting or a particular interview, you can also just have that one-off intensive session. So do have a look at that. The links are via the Finance Academy website, and we have rolled forward this into the 2025 financial year. So do take advantage of coaching, something that I did a couple of years ago for a tricky decision I needed to make, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. So I do really encourage people to do that. In terms of other one-to-one support, just a quick reminder about the sponsorship programme, which is around an improving diversity programme across NHS Finance. We are in the brilliant position of having increased the number of people who signed up as sponsees, so wanting a sponsor. So we and it was the other way around. We previously had lots of sponsors and not enough sponsees. We've now increased our number of sponsors. So whilst we're shouting out for anyone who wants to join the programme as a sponsee and get a sponsor, please do sign up. But we're particularly looking for sponsors as well. So if you want to find out more, there's lots and lots of information on the One NHS Finance website about who can be a sponsor, who can be a sponsee. Full training is provided, and it's an absolutely brilliant thing to be involved with. I haven't got time to go into it in lots of detail today, but if you do want to find out more, check out the ONF website, give me a shout, and I can tell you more about the brilliant sponsorship programme. Right, innovation. So Innovation Forum, as part of One NHS Finance, 3 streams, Innovation Forum is all about trying to share best practice. And I've got a slide here about the brilliant stuff that we're sharing from across the east of England. The colour coding is by organisation, so you can see that we've got some organisations who've done an absolutely fantastic job. A real shout out to Milton Keynes and Mid and South Essex FT, who've put in loads and loads of innovations, and ESNEF, sorry Darryl, can't forget ESNEF, but there's a range of things across our systems in there that you might want to have a look at. It's part of the work of the Innovation Forum, which also runs the Software Skills Network, the Efficiency Exchange, where it's sharing ideas around making savings, which, you know, we're always looking for those, so please do check that out. And I know that through the Innovation Forum, there are also quite a lot of sessions around how to access and use AI, which have been very, very popular. So do have a look at for those events as part of One NHS Finance, because I know that more sessions have been put on because demand has been overwhelming, but all sorts of resources through the Innovation Forum, which hopefully will help people to do their jobs. So, but finally, and I can see that Jason's arrived, so I'm going to be really, really quick. In terms of the uncertainty that people are feeling at the moment and people's worries around the future, and I do realise it's a really difficult time, I just want to draw people's attention to an absolute wealth of resources that One NHS Finance has put on their site to support people, to support you and your teams. I've got slides on them rather than talk about them on the header slide. This is a really brilliant document which summarises all sorts of different help that there is there. It's a quick, easy read, something that you can download very easily, but it takes you through all sorts of different resources that are available and gives you links to access them. And just to pick out some in particular, emphasis on the health and wellbeing resources. What One NHS Finance has done is it's pulled together lots of existing resources from across the NHS, as well as its own resources, to try and create a bank of things which might be helpful to you or to help you manage members of your team who are finding things particularly stressful at the moment. There's a document on how to recognise stress, as well as lots of information, health and wellbeing webinars, and I particularly wanted to draw to your attention the importance of health and wellbeing champions as part of this. Each organisation across our patch, or vast majority, has a health wellbeing champion in place. It's something that I think are crucially important at this point in time. And again, it's another thing, if you do want to get involved in a brilliant network and access loads of resources and find like-minded people from across the NHS, I'd really encourage you to sign up to being a health and wellbeing champion. Give me a shout if you want to find out more about that. And finally, before I move on to Jason, just to say that if you are feeling that you know, this is a time where you might have to look for other opportunities, there is lots of support available around applications and finding roles. I've stuck on here some of the things you can look at around how to share how to share and find job information, lots of training events, and but there's also the opportunity to have mock interviews and help with reviewing your application. So I'm not going to go into it in lots of details here, but please do get in touch with myself or Sarah. Sorry, Sarah, I mentioned you on here because we're talking to the Cambridgeshire system this afternoon about the same thing, but certainly get in touch with me if you do want any kind of support with just talking things through. If you want me to have a look at your CV, etc., I'm very, very happy to do so. There's a couple of other quick Academy updates in there that you can look at for yourself, some of which have been covered by Linda and Martha. And my usual slide on, if you've just got 2 minutes, some really good things to do, which you can find out, easy ways to find out what's going on in terms of training and development, to help you make your life easier. I've put in a little slide here, which I'm going to leave up just for a few seconds. But if you've got any ideas around ways that we can help you or your team, please do stick them into the Menti. But as I say, I'm only going to leave it up for a few seconds. So please contact me after the event with things that you kind of say, well, that's all really good, but actually I'd really like X. I'm really looking for ways that we can help people with help people with resources that they need. So please do stick them in here. Give me a shout if there's anything else that you can think of that would help you or your team. Now, apologies for the rush, but I'm really conscious that we need to make sure that we do finish by 12 o'clock. So I'm going to move us straight on to the next session, if that's okay. And I will hang on at the end if people do want to have a chat and ask me more about the training development opportunities. So Jason, thank you ever so much for being patient, and it's great to have you with us. I'm going to hand over to you, and please just say next slide when you want me to move on.
Will do. Thank you so much, Jane, and thank you all for letting me join you today. I've got a machine gun style at the best of times, but there's a lot to get through. This first slide's probably the most important one, not because I'm a megalomaniac. My email's on the bottom. Every time I present one of these, I'm sort of a little bit proud. A few people get in touch. Happy to help. Everyone I ever work with in the NHS, happy to help. So if there's anything you don't understand, you want to go back, you want to talk about, I may not be able to answer, but if it's something to do with the region, I'll be able to find someone who can help. So my email's on there. We'll get you the slides. Don't try and remember everything. This isn't a memory test. This is not that. So next slide, please, Jane. So this is just a straight steal. It's all published. The links are on the bottom of the slides. If there's anything you need to be, just to remind people what we're trying to do the same thing, really. We've got different focuses on it, but we're trying to improve elective care. We're trying to improve urgent emergency care, trying to improve mental health access. There's lots of things we're all constantly trying to do. And I'm happy to do this once a year because it gets to remind myself my job is not to break even the financial position. That's my lens. That's where I come from. But if you work in finance, that might be one of your aims, but your aim is really to try and help provide patient care. Behind all of those national plans, there's more detail. You can't just improve this. So there's lots there. If you click on the link at the bottom and go in there, it tells you, right, exactly what are we trying to do, but more importantly, how are we going to do these things? And it's definitely worth a read. And documents, I'd really advocate people reading them because they're very accessible. They're written in really nice, plain language that you don't need to be an expert to understand. Next slide, please, Jane. So, the most patronising slide ever with here's the east of England. this is where you live, sort of thing, like you didn't know. So that's us as of today. We've got, in England, 42 different integrated care systems split across 7 regions in the east. If you go on to the next slide, please, Jane. So we've got a couple of questions for people. So what are the current, it's flexible, what are the current plans? So I just told you there's 42 different ICBs in 7 regions. What do you think the current thinking is about what we're going to have? How many regions are we going to have and how many ICBs? Just check how many we're expecting here. It's got 30 people. Take on myself. We'll just give it another 10 seconds, Jane, to let people.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of different options there.
There really is. Yeah, I probably should have given people a chance. So, not to prolong it. The current thinking is, and like I say, this is subject to change tomorrow, is that we're going to have 7 regions. The regional footprint not expected to change, and circa 22 to 28 ICBs. So I think there's a plan now for each of the 7 regions. I know what we're going to do. So the correct answer is number 4 there. So I think I've written out the correct answer is number 5. I think I gave Jane the wrong tick there. So 7 regions. We're going to keep the same number of regions, and we're going to have broadly half the number of ICBs. So if you click through onto the next slide, please, Jane.
Yep, sorry, Jason, that'll be me
That-
picking the wrong answer.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm aware we're doing this off the hoof. So this is kind of what's going to happen. So you may have seen it in the press and you may not, depending on where. So this is how money flows, but really I've used it as a document to describe what's happening. The DHSC, the Department of Health, and NHS England, they are collectively going to be taking down 18,000 staff to 9,000, 50% reduction. Going to do that in a few different ways. We're going to reduce duplication. We're going to try and do a few things more at scale. We're going to focus on what's value adding. We're going to try and be a bit more productive. That's still a tremendous haircut. 50% is a lot, and that's absolutely focusing minds of people who I work with. You know, I would imagine there's an ambient thought at the back of everybody's head, will I have a job in 6 months? That's a completely normal thing. If I worked in a corporate department in a provider, I'd also be like, how does this affect me? I think that's a really human thing to do. But we are trying to focus on the job. What can we do to the best of our abilities, the way it is at the moment? So DHSC and NHS England are going to merge. And then there's a bit of a flow through. We've had something called System First, which meant of the 6 systems in the East, we would go out to each of them and go, how are you doing? Here's System X, how are you doing? How's you lot getting on? What's your bottom line overall? I think there's going to be a change in focus there, where providers and ICBs, I guess, could go off track themselves. Where they go off track, there'll be more direct intervention from the national team and from the regional teams. So you're off track. I don't think you're getting back on track on your own. How might we help you to correct that course? And then that's a real change in focus. And there's probably a change in tone as well. It's probably a lot more direct than it's been previously. Hasn't landed anywhere yet, but that's just my sense of what's changing. So don't worry about too much about the detail on that slide. The money flows down. Anything you want to ask about afterwards, please just come and ask. I can get you the detail. Next slide, please, Jane. So we've got 6 ICBs in the East today, probably going down to 3. You know, they're semi-merging, they're half joining, whatever, they're collaborating with each other. But across the 6, how much money have they got? So this is revenue spend in 25-26. Just have a guess. The reason we stick it in slides rather than just, I don't want to be that annoying school teacher who just asks you lots of questions just for the sake of it, but just to give you an idea. I can give you some rough rules of thumb afterwards about the East. So I'll just give you another 15 seconds. Right, correct answer is about 18 billion. So the correct answer was number 3. It's about 18 billion. Typically, although there's inflation every year, if you think about £2.5 billion per system, it's given out on a weighted basis based on weighted population. The money flows through, but about £2.5 billion, so 18 billion pounds. I don't know about you. My brain will cope with millions. Big house is £1 million, right? It's posh around here in Cambridge, but where I live in Essex, £1 million will get you a right old house. And my brain will sort of function at that level. Whenever it's billions, I'm sort of, what does that mean again? I'll have to turn it. But these are huge numbers. This is a ton of money. The East of England gets about 1/10 of the revenue and the 1/10 of the capital that's given out nationally. So there's lots and lots. We're absolutely ginormous, as is everything. So it's one of the things I sort of find really great about working in the regional team, just that envelope, just, wow, you're really making a difference here. But I do have to remind myself, these you know, sometimes I even have to go 1 billion. That's 1,000 times 1 million. That's a huge number. So next slide, please, Jane. So there's just the same information if you wanted to see the split by all those organisations, just the split. And like I say, it's generally done on weighted population. How old are our population? How much is it going to cost to give these people care? So the cheapest people are sort of like your faces that I can see, young people. Don't really darken our door, don't need a lot, and just get on with it. As people get older, the amount of health input they require really ramps up. 7 to 8-fold increase as people get towards the end of their lives. Just multiple things that. So I was talking to someone the other day, my shoulder's a bit sore, my knees hurt when I run. I got bits appearing that weren't there before. Just stuff happens as you get older, and that's sort of reflected. Yeah, there's a couple of exceptions there that women of childbearing age, you know, that can be a tiny spike around there, but generally as people get older, so that's the reason why it's not just flat populations. Next slide, please, Jane. So this is just on the approach in the east. I used to be frightened of the region. I promise, when the region came round, and there's some of the people still work in the region, we'd like get them a cup of tea, we'd be really nice to them, and we'd want them out the door as quickly as we could. I hope that is not the situation. So I talked previously about the tone of the approach. This is not the military. Barking orders at people doesn't help, it doesn't work. So I hope we never go full back to that. There probably is going to be a slightly more direct style. Next slide, please, Jane. So this is really what we do. So my job in the region is management accounts, really. It's just a management accounts job on a big scale. So we get the budget at the start of the year, the £18 billion we spoke about, split out by each of the systems. The systems, the ICBs, will be working with all their providers to go, right, I've got this £2.5–3 billion. How am I going to spend that? So we set a plan at the start of the year, split into 12. It's exactly like a standard budget. It's got income, it's got expenditure split between pay and non-pay items. It's just management accounts at a really big level. So we set a plan at the start of the year, try and work out, is that robust? Does that plan triangulate? Does the financial spend tie back to the workforce spend? Will that workforce be able to deliver the operational outputs required? That's none of that is rocket science. And then we monitor against plan throughout the year. And the monitoring is really split into 3 different parts. Right, we've had month 1 plans come in. They've come in for our patch. There's a few that are overspent, some that aren't. Is it a real position? Month 1's an iffy month, if I'm honest with people. Month 1 is not the most robust of months, but we can't wait until month 2 to find out. We can't let things get off track. So is the position real? Right, there's a deficit there. Is that the real deficit? Number 2, why is it off plan? Was it something about the plan? Was it not really there? Have they failed to deliver efficiencies? That's a really consistent one. Efficiency targets are really high now. Have they been fully delivered? Is it something that's happening to that organisation, or is it happening region wide? What has caused the deficit? And number three is the whole ball game, really. What can we do about it? How can we work with the systems and the organisations to get them back on track? And that's kind of it. So that's why I say my job is like the same job that everyone does in lots of organisations in management accounts. It's just the same, but just at a larger scale. So the way we do that is we meet with the systems on a regular basis, and that's going to ramp up. That's going to increase. We're probably going to look at things in a bit more detail than we did previously. So previously, I might have looked at the efficiency schemes, the SIPs, right? How's over £100 million of SIPs? It's huge numbers. But how are you getting on with that? Now we're going to be delving down deep into the detail of, right, exactly which ones are not fully delivering. What can we do about that? And how can we ramp up? So that is an absolute whistle-stop tour. If any of that stayed in your head, great. If any of it hasn't, we'll give out the slides afterwards. You've got my email that I shared with people at the start of the meeting. I'm sort of, makes me, honestly, I swear to God, it makes me happy if I get an email from someone going, what's this and that's, because then I think, wow, that's a sort of a value add to someone's. They said, thank you very much for listening. Apologies for the pace. I've got to go and chair another meeting in 3 minutes, but I can take questions for 2.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Jason. What a quick run through, and thanks ever so much for making time in your very busy day. I've got a quick question while I read them. Just could you please, I don't think you said it, but can you tell everyone what the net plans are? What's the net financial position that we're going into this 25-26?
So for the East this year, we've got all 6 systems have got a break-even plan. So against the 18.1 billion, we've got a break-even plan. But I should say, on top of that, we're giving out about £150 million of deficit support funding. That means we had systems that didn't quite break even last year, and they needed some help, and they can't in 1 year get back to a break-even position this year. So the 18.1 billion includes 150 million of deficit support funding, but with that support, all 6 systems got break-even plans.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you. And I can't see any other hands up or any questions coming in. So Jason, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you very much. We'll let you go.
Thank you for having me.
do take up Jason's offer of dropping him an email if you have got any more questions, because as he said, he's genuinely really delighted if he hears from people. I've got the pleasure of working with the regional team a little bit at the moment, and they they really do appreciate getting people getting in contact with them. So please do take up that offer. We're about at time, and so I'm goodbye to everyone who needs to drop off because you've got another meeting. Thank you ever so much for all your questions and input today. I've put a quick survey up for a word cloud. If you want to stick in a quick word about what you found useful, that's brilliant. In about 1 minute's time, what I will do is switch back to the question, which is about what extra support can we give you, because I am really keen to find out if people have got any other ideas about support that we can give from the Finance Academy. And I will also hang on after we finish the formal meeting in case anyone wants to chat. Massive thank you for all our speakers today. It's been a really great session. Thank you to our Value Maker leads who have planned the session, and most of all, thank you to you. It's really, really brilliant and just energizing to see all of you, and hope to see you all again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.